Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at one of the most highly anticipated Mega Pokemon releases in all of Pokemon Go, Mega TYRANITAR. Mega TYRANITAR is a Dark and Rock-type Pokemon with a moveset of Bite, Brutal Swing, and Stone Edge, and we already know Mega TYRANITAR will be an absolute beast in raids, but the question will be, how does it do in the Mega Master League? So today, I'll be doing some practice Mega Master League battles featuring Mega TYRANITAR to see if it is worth using. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Mega TYRANITAR in the Mega Master League. Hopping to the first match, picking up a fairly neutral lead Kyogre into Lugia. I'm going to stay in this matchup to start, but I will eventually need to save switch out of here to check for any potential Groudon or Zacian lurking in the back. I go for the Aeroblast catch, I don't get the catch, but my opponent stays in, fires off the Aeroblast, and there it is. In comes Primal Groudon. Primal Groudon farming up a ton of energy. It looks like they're actually going to go for the one shield farm down, which is a pretty scary play because a Primal Precipice Blades is probably just straight up going to one-shot my regular Kyogre. Kyogre will lose CMP here. I'm going to commit the shield. They bait with the Fire Punch, and I'm returning fire with the Surf. Surf is double super effective here. This would be lethal. Opponent is going to commit the shield. They make it to another charge move, and I'm going to save the shield from Mega TYRANITAR. Opponent baits again. I'm able to make it to the Surf, and now, is my opponent willing to give up the final shield? No, they let the Groudon go. In comes Mega TYRANITAR, and in the back, it's Kyogre. Kyogre hitting for super effective damage, but look at the bulk and damage output of Mega TYRANITAR. The bites keeping pace with the super effective waterfalls. This is absolute madness. Mega TYRANITAR winning CMP over Kyogre. Brutal Swing will be lethal. In comes the Lugia, and it's all over for the opponent as Brutal Swing KOs the Lugia, and that's a good game. Picking up a great lead in the next match, Kyogre into Groudon. Opponent will immediately save switch into Dialga, and it is Mega TYRANITAR time. If you run the Shadow TYRANITAR in the Master League, it's a pretty even matchup with Dialga, but the Mega just absolutely shreds the Dialga. Bites, deal massive damage, and the Brutal Swing will KO. Opponent sends in their final Pokemon, which is a Waterfall Mega Gyarados. These waterfalls dealing a lot of damage to the TYRANITAR. TYRANITAR can't make it to the Stone Edge, forced to settle for the Brutal Swing. Opponent knows it's not the Stone Edge, they're gonna no shield, and I'm gonna send in Dialga. They farmed up quite a lot of energy. I'm worried about a potential outrage, so I will commit the shield. They go for the crunch, I have to watch for the switch into the Groudon, and I send back in Kyogre. This is a very good matchup on paper, but Groudon being up a shield is honestly quite scary for Kyogre. I fire off the Surf, it ends up being a CMP tie. Groudon is going to commit the shield, and I'm going to let this through. Precipice Blade's not going to KO, but it deals massive damage to the Kyogre. Kyogre continuing to farm, going for the Surf, and this time I end up losing CMP. I'm just going to let this go, and I'm going to trust in Dialga. Dialga gets the farm down. In comes the Mega Gyarados. Mega Gyarados needs a lot of damage here, and unfortunately, they just don't have enough charge moves. Crunch does big damage, but Dialga gets the farm down. We see a familiar lead in the next match, Kyogre into another Lugia. Same game plan as before, I'm going to bank a bunch of energy and look to make a catch. This opponent not farming up to the Aeroblast, they're just going for the Sky Attack. I can tank this, they're 3 away from the next Sky Attack, so I'm going to farm up 3 waterfalls, switch, and get the catch onto Dialga. This way, I have so much energy stored on Kyogre for later in the game. Opponent sends in Groudon, definitely not what I was hoping to see here. Well, the good news is I need to bait out Groudon with this team, but it's not a good matchup for Dialga. I actually do something I don't normally do here. I'm actually going to shield the Dialga. My goal is I want to try and get at least 1 shield from my opponent and put this into a range where I can potentially go for the 1 shield farm down after they KO with the Mega TYRANITAR. I'm going to no shield here. Opponent does the right thing. They full send the Precipice Blades. I'm going to save the energy on Kyogre for later. I'm going to send in TYRANITAR. I want the energy head start bites, shredding through the Groudon. Groudon makes the Precipice Blades, so I will commit the shield. This way, I have an energy head start versus whatever they have in the back, and it's a Mega Salamence. Mega Salamence outputs massive damage, but it takes a while to get to charge moves. I build up to the Stone Edge. I'm baiting with the Brutal Swing. That gets the shield, a switch into Kyogre, and I get the snipe with the Origin Pulse. This will not KO, but it will get them low. Opponent switches out, they send in Lugia, and I see a win con. I'm not going to throw the energy on the Kyogre. Instead, I'm going to let it go down and send in Tyranitar. I need the farm down. They make the Aeroblast. I'm in the yellow. Is this going to be enough to KO? It is not. Mega Tyranitar, the absolute beast, gets the farm down and wins CMP over Mega Salamence. Brutal Swing gets the knockout, and that's a good game. Picking up a great lead in the next match, Kyogre into Mega Scizor. Opponent is going to stay in this matchup to start, bank some energy here, safe switch into Zacian, and honestly, my backline doesn't really want to see Zacian, so I'm just going to stay in with the Kyogre. No baits here, full send in the Origin Pulse. Origin Pulse is going to rock the Zacian. I elect to let this go, hoping it's a play rough, but it's a wild charge, and honestly, this is now a bit scary, as Mega Scizor does pretty well into my backline. Scizor gets the farm down. I'm forced to send in Dialga here, because at the very least, they're going to be going for neutral Night Slashes, whereas if I sent in the Tyranitar, they could go for these super effective Iron Heads. The nice thing is Dialga will be able to absorb multiple Night Slashes, and I've already dealt some solid damage to the Mega Scizor. Mega Scizor does hit quite hard, but that is balanced out by the fact that it is somewhat frail. I'm firing off the Iron Head. Iron Head will be shielded by the Scizor. Let's see, what do they have in the bag? They have Ho-Oh, and I send in Tyranitar. Unfortunately, I do end up lagging a bit in this game. I'm slightly worried about an Earthquake, so I decide to commit the shield. Thankfully, they are not running Earthquake, so my Tyranitar is extremely safe in this matchup. Purely just off bite damage, this Ho-Oh is already approaching the red health. The damage output from Mega Tyranitar just cannot be denied. They're firing off the Sacred Fire. Mega Tyranitar able to tank it. Ho-Oh looking to make it to another charge move, but the Tyranitar says no, leaving with the Brutal Swing loaded, and that's going to be game over. In comes the Scizor. They get KO'd, and Mega Tyranitar stands strong. Moving into the next match, we see Kyogre versus Mewtwo. Two better responses in the back, so I save switch into Dialga, and we see a spicy Mega from the opponent as they're running Mega Kangaskhan. Mega Kangaskhan is going to fire off the power-up punch, buffing up their attack. I'm going to be firing off the Iron Head here. The Dragon Breaths have done enough to Mega Kangaskhan that they will have to respect the Iron Head. Opponent looking for the farm down, and it cost them both shields to do so. So Dialga putting in a lot of work, baiting out the Mud Slap user, and now giving Tyranitar a 2-shield advantage for the endgame. Honestly, I'm not sure what Kangaskhan runs as its nuke move, but I find out that it's Earthquake as Earthquake rocks the Kyogre. Opponent sends in Mewtwo. I switch into Mega Tyranitar, and in the back, it's a Dragon Tail Garchomp. They're just going straight Sand Tomb, but I'm willing to shield the Sand Tombs here because I want to try and farm up to the back-to-back Brutal Swings. Continuing to farm with the Tyranitar, trying to go for the CMP tie, but unfortunately, again, my game was lagging. We see the weak connection there, and I'm not able to throw. But the good news is Tyranitar is going to be able to farm up to the back-to-back Brutal Swings here, and I want to see this Brutal Swing damage on Mewtwo. That KOs the Garchomp. In comes the Mewtwo. Let's see this damage. Brutal Swing, massive damage, nearly one-shotting the Mewtwo, and that's a good game. We've got some spice on the lead in the next match, Kyogre into Mega Ampharos. I save switch into Dialga, and my opponent is going to respond with Zacian. My plan here is I'm going to wait until they throw their close combat, but my opponent is going to overfarm and wait for me to throw first. I'm going to fire off the Iron Head. Iron Head will be no-shielded by the opponent, and they're going to fire off the close combat. The nice thing here is I tank a close combat, and I can now go for the Iron Head and guarantee the shield. My opponent wisely does not go for the CMP time, but they actually end up letting that through. So that does give me switch advantage, which is pretty nice. In comes Ampharos. Ampharos looking for the farm down. They pay a heavy price to do so. Ampharos leaves with a lot of energy. I send in Kyogre, and my opponent is going to send in their own. Now this could get a bit interesting. I'm going to build up to the Origin Pulse and bait with the Surf. I have gotten a bit of chip damage onto the Kyogre, and I'm able to grab the shield, and I decide to call the bait here. I'm feeling risky. It's the Thunder. Kyogre nearly gets one shot, and now I need Mega Tyranitar to clutch this game. We've seen Mega Tyranitar can actually do okay against Kyogre. Kyogre hitting for super effective damage, but Mega Tyranitar does not care, biting all the way down. In comes the Mega Ampharos. I'm shielding up in case they have Focus Blast. Opponent running Power Gem on the Mega Ampharos, and Mega Tyranitar secures the win. Nightmare lead in the next match, Kyogre into Zekrom. Immediate save switch into Dialga, and my opponent is going to respond with Ho-Oh. The good news here is that I will be able to force shield advantage with my Dialga. Ho-Oh is going to fire off the Sacred Fire. That deals massive damage to the Dialga. Dialga gets debuffed, but will be able to leave a parting gift of a Draco Meteor. Draco Meteor is going to grab the shield from the Ho-Oh. I'm going to wait the timer, send in Kyogre, and commit to the farm down here. Kyogre is going to be taking quite a bit of damage from this Brave Bird, but at this point, I'm just trying to set up Mega Tyranitar as the closer. I haven't seen my opponent's Mega, so odds are it's going to be in the back. I send in the Mega Tyranitar, and it's met by Mega Swampert, and this is the worst case scenario. Swampert goes for the Hydro Cannon. That does damage, and unfortunately, this is going to be tough. I think to win this game with the Mega Tyranitar, I need to try and commit to a full bite farm down. If I can fully farm down here with the Tyranitar, then I can leave with double moves to be able to get rid of the Zekrom. It's going to be close. Mega Tyranitar looking for the farm down. Mega Swampert with 1 HP and a dream hanging on, taking out the Mega Tyranitar. And that's just going to be game over, as there's nothing Kyogre can do here. And Zekrom will be able to get rid of Kyogre with a Fusion Bolt. We've got a mirror lead in the next game, Kyogre versus Kyogre. This is definitely dependent on what their secondary charge move is. A lot of Kyogres do run Thunder. Mine is running the Legacy Origin Pulse. I don't really want to risk it, so I'm going to farm up, switch into the Dialga to hopefully catch the Thunder. Opponent is running Thunder. That's good to know for later in the game. They send in Dragonite. Dragonite will be able to outpace. They need to Superpower here. If they don't Superpower, they go for the Dragon Claw. I'm able to tank it, make it to the Iron Head, and this will be lethal, so the opponent has to give up a shield if they want switch advantage. They're going to let this go. They're going to send in Kyogre. Kyogre getting some farm. I'm going to bring in my own Kyogre, looking to overfarm. This is only a Surf. It's not enough for another Thunder, so I can very comfortably no shield here, and now I'm returning fire with the Origin Pulse. This is going to get them incredibly low. Origin Pulse gets them low in the back. It's Mega Alakazam, and look at the bite damage. Alakazam does not make the Focus Blast, and that's a good game. We see a Nightmare lead in the next match, Kyogre into Mega Gyarados. Mega Gyarados, especially when it's running Dragon Breath, is a pretty big core breaker for this team. My opponent farms up some energy with the Gyarados, and now they're going to send in Excadrill. Everything going rapidly downhill in this matchup. Exca is going to look for the farm down. I make it to the last second Draco Meteor, but they can just commit the shield and leave with quite a lot of energy. And that will prove to be problematic, as I can look for the farm down here with Kyogre, but since they left with a lot of energy, they're going to make double Drill Run, which is nearly enough to KO Kyogre. Excadrill, despite being a free-to-play Pokemon, is an absolute beast in the Master League. They're firing off another Drill Run. As you can see, Kyogre now with a fraction of HP left, and I'm going to send in Tyranitar. And unfortunately, the bite damage from Tyranitar just does absolutely nothing here. This is the one time in the battles that I did wish that I actually had Smackdown on the Tyranitar, but for most other things in the Mega Master League, it definitely feels like bite is preferred. They go for the Aqua Tail, Mega Tyranitar, able to tank that. Opponent now going to send in a Landorus, and I'm firing off the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing, unfortunately, not going to be enough to KO here. It does a lot of damage to the Landorus, but the Landorus is able to hang on. I'm going to commit the shield, but unfortunately, there's just not a win con here, because, as you're going to see, the Mega Gyarados is just at a move. Aqua Tail is going to KO, and there's nothing Kyogre can do. Hopping into the final match, we see the Dream lead Kyogre into Primal Groudon. Opponent is going to save switch into Reshiram, and I respond with Dialga. I should be able to one shield and farm down here, and then I can fire off a Draco at the Primal Groudon to get my shield back. Unfortunately, Dialga starts lagging. Do I still get the farm down? Yes, I do. That is massive, and now I can get the shield back from the Groudon. Groudon is running Dragon Tail. I actually go for a bit of a risky play here. I'm going for the Iron Head bait. I get the shield. Dialga farming up to the Draco Meteor, and this is going to hurt. Primal Groudon double shielding. The unfortunate thing is that a Primal Precipice Blades will absolutely one-shot, so I'm forced to commit my final shield. What do they have in the back? They have a Rayquaza. I'm going to bank a move for later and send in Mega Tyranitar. Mega Tyranitar does quite well here, but I do have to be careful. I need to make sure that I'm able to leave as little HP as possible for that Groudon to potentially farm. So I'm going to let myself get incredibly low here with the Tyranitar, basically letting myself go to 1 HP, going for the Brutal Swing, but I accidentally overtap and get KO'd. Oh goodness, this is not great. Breaking Swipe is going to connect. Thankfully, Rayquaza is low enough that Kyogre is going to get the farm down, and I leave with the Surf loaded. It may be debuffed, but it's not going to matter. Double super effective damage, and that's a good game. All in all, I had a ton of fun getting to run Mega Tyranitar. Mega Tyranitar gets to an absolutely absurd CP, and you definitely feel it in terms of damage output. I would say when it comes to Mega Master League, the Primals feel like they're almost always going to be king, but if you don't have access to the Primals and want a free-to-play option, then Mega Tyranitar is a pretty solid option if they do bring back the Mega Master League format, and on top of that, as I mentioned, it is a terrific raid counter as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.